Hey guys, welcome to my November/December recap. I'm not sure how organized this is all going to be because I'm trying to cover 2 months here, but I'm going to do the best I can. Grab a snacky snack or a cup of something, have a seat, relax. I don't know how long this is going to be. I'm going to do my best and just get started. Okay, decks. Decks that I worked with in November. I continued my work with the Raven's Prophecy Tarot by Maggie Stiefvater, and I did finally manage to post a walkthrough of this deck. It was a viewer request, and I just I won't go on about this deck. You've heard me go on a lot about this deck, and you can watch that walkthrough and hear me blather on about it some more. I would say this is one of my favorite decks to work with. Certainly one of my favorite that I acquired in 2019. I also, worked with, did I work with anything else? Oh yeah. I did, well, sort of. I had started to work with the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. I have a video of this as well where I show you how I modified the deck and why I modified the deck. But as you can see, I used contact paper for the back and I chopped off the titles because I found that the titles were hindering me from actually wanting to use the deck. And I know that there are a lot of opinions out there about the titles. Some people absolutely love the name changes. Others hate them. They just didn't resonate with me, especially the swords and the pentacles, the renaming them to challenges and boons. That it just didn't really resonate. And so I decided to get rid of them. And since modifying the deck, I have been working with it more and have really, really enjoyed working with it. It's definitely got that fairy tale feel to it that other people have also mentioned. The art is beautiful. The guidebook is awesome. Just really well written. I love how you get a full-blown picture in the guidebook so that you can capture the details that you might not otherwise capture in the card itself. I love how the guidebook gives you a closer look into each image, whether it's to notice a certain detail or to find certain motifs that are throughout the deck and to look at all the cards for certain motifs. And it was a great guidebook. And I know that people were saying, okay, spend less money on the guidebook and put more money into the shitty cardstock. But I like this cardstock. I like Llewellyn cardstock. Fight me. Because it's easy to riffle shuffle. I'm a riffle shuffler, and I feel like it's easy to handle, and yet, I think it'll last a decently long time. I don't think any deck cardstock can last forever, but I've really not used any deck so much that I have completely worn out the cardstock, so I'm not really worried about it. Overall, a really beautiful deck. I did also work with the Fauna Inspiration deck. This is the mini deck by Rebecca Lefebvre. I'll write it somewhere. I have a walkthrough of this deck as well. So it's funny, I just took a trip to Key West for the holidays, and right before I took that trip, I pulled this card, the Pelican. And what do you know? That's all I saw in Key West, pelicans and roosters. But anyway, I've really had a lot of fun with this deck. I've been pretty easy peasy about it. I've been just kind of pulling a card when I want and just reading about the different animals. Here's the message on the back. So it's two-sided, as you can see, and just kind of sitting with the message, sitting with the energy and the archetype, and letting it be what it is. So it's been a good deck to work with overall. I really just appreciate the art that went into this, and I mean, this cardstock. I love this cardstock. It's this, I forget what it was called. Watch the walkthrough. It's all in there. Felt weave cardstock. It's amazing, whatever it is. I love it. So this was good. I worked with it in November, this deck in November and in December as well. December, so I talked about the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. I still played around with that, and then also worked with This Might Hurt Tarot. I don't really have all that much to say about this deck that hasn't already been said. You can find so many videos on this deck. It's lovely. It's a great deck overall. I know that people love this cardstock, and I do too. I mean, I do love the slippery, non-sticky texture to it, and it seems like the kind of cardstock that is really resilient. You know, it's not going to damage very easily, and it's hard for me to shuffle. This kind of reminds me of the same cardstock as the Spirit Keepers Tarot. A little different than the Light Seers, but it's that same kind of thick cardstock that, while I appreciate everything about it, and I know it's a demand for a lot of deck collectors out there, for me, it's so hard to shuffle. So, I mean, I've just made do with shuffling in smaller batches, but otherwise this has given me some wonderful readings and daily draws. It's no struggle to work with this deck, no struggle at all. And it's one that I can see using if friends ask for readings. So it's really nice. And then in conjunction with this deck, I would sometimes use the Oracle deck that I made just for myself. I've titled it the Cup of Contemplation. And I created this deck in October, and the print came, the cards actually came to me in November, the beginning of November, I think. But in any case, I worked with this deck on its own, sometimes just for a daily draw, and then at other times I worked with it in conjunction with the This Might Hurt. So I would pull a card first from my Oracle deck, and then that would serve as a prompt that the This Might Hurt deck would then address. So I really, I'm not an artist at all. This is, vector imagery that I acquired legally. Thank you very much. I acquired legally, and then I was able to modify the images using Illustrator. And so that was an interesting learning experience, a fun learning experience. All in all, I'm really happy with how this deck turned out. I've already had a couple inquiries about whether I'm going to put this deck up for sale because I have been posting a few cards on Instagram, and that's super flattering because this was for me and me alone, given that I don't draw, and this is about the best I can do. But if you're interested in seeing a full walkthrough of this, and maybe purchasing it. I guess I could do a full walkthrough, and look into throwing it up on Make playing cards or something like that if there is enough people to warrant the time to figure out how to do that, because I don't know how to do that. So TVs and movie, I think it was the end of December that Matt and I finally finished Stranger Things season 3. I know it took us a hot minute, and it was okay. I think I'm kind of done with Stranger Things. Like I think my momentum with that show has kind of puttered out now. So while I was engaged, I wasn't nearly as engaged as I was with seasons 1 and 2. And yes, the end of season 3, there were some emotional parts for sure. And I knew after watching that I'm probably not going to watch season 4. I've also we just finished actually yesterday, watching the first season of The Mandalorian. This is a new TV series on Disney Plus in the whole Star Wars universe. So this is supposed to take place after the Return of the Jedi, and then I believe before The Force Awakens. So somewhere in there, I think. I don't know. Thing is, I am not a Star Wars fanatic. I enjoy Star Wars. I have watched all the Star Wars movies. Well, most of them. I've watched most of them, except for the most recent one with like the young Han Solo. That's the only one I haven't seen, I think. But I wouldn't call myself a fanatic. I am, however, a fanatic of Baby Yoda. Aside from my obsession with Baby Yoda, I do think overall the series is just so well produced. I mean, in terms of the visuals, in terms of just the CGI, and of course Baby Yoda, just everything about it. The music, the score is one of my favorite parts of the series, but it's just all well done. It's so well put together. There were a couple episodes here and there where I felt the script was weak, but it ended on a strong note for me with the final episode of the season. And my love for Baby Yoda just, it knows no bounds. If I could immaculately conceive a Baby Yoda, I would. And I have already pre-ordered all the Baby Yoda merch. So be prepared to see that next year when it comes out. I'm a little too into Baby Yoda. Sorry, not. He has just made me so happy over the past couple months. Like whenever I have felt down, I will just pull up a picture of Baby Yoda. Try it. I'm telling you, just try it. It'll work. It can't not work unless you have no heart at all. Movies, I saw A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood with a friend. So that's about Mr. Rogers. I don't know if those of you on the other side of the pond know Mr. Rogers. He had the show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So it was a TV show for kids aimed at teaching kids, valuable lessons, and he used puppets and all that. Anyway, it was good. It was better than I thought it would be. I actually did not want to see this movie, but my friend really did. I had an issue with Tom Hanks being Mr. Rogers. I just did not see him as Mr. Rogers. As I watched the movie, I continued to not really see him as Mr. Rogers. However, I think it was all right. It was okay. I was able to kind of let that go and really focus on other parts of the movie, which the premise of the movie was not what I thought it would be, and it was not where I thought the movie would go. Admittedly, I did not read up much on the movie before seeing it, but I will say I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was good. tears were shed. I wasn't expecting that, but it was good. And, Tom Hanks still sounded like Tom Hanks trying to be Mr. Rogers, but not really trying because he sounded like Tom Hanks, but whatever. It's fine. Frozen 2, finally saw that. I really liked it. I liked the music. In some ways, it kept my attention more than Frozen 1 did. I loved Frozen 1 too, as well. I loved Frozen, the first one as well. Don't get me wrong. But I remember when I was watching it, it did feel a little bit slow for me in the beginning. Whereas for Frozen 2, with Frozen 2, my attention was grabbed like from the very beginning. I was pretty engaged from the start. So, yeah, I loved it. The music was great. And, of course, yeah, the songs were great. I liked Olaf more in this one. I think he was just funnier. I don't know. It was good. And then I saw Star Wars, the movie, the last movie in the trilogy. So it's The Rise of Skywalker. Once again, not the hugest Star Wars fanatic, so I know that a lot of people did not care for this movie, saying that there were a bunch of loopholes, this, that, and whatever, that, just didn't make sense in this, this world building. And I get it, because not being a fanatic, I also noticed these things as well, and I just didn't really care that much. Like, I still found it really entertaining. I did. I really liked it. I liked it. And I'm not going to give away spoilers, but it's just, yeah, it was just really entertaining, and some parts did leave me scratching my head. Not gonna lie, but I was able to get over it pretty quickly. Books, I was talking about this in my Depth Here video, that books I've been having a hard time with reading. I've been good with audiobooks, but just reading, like physical reading, has been a struggle for me this year. I did finish The Raven Cycle, which I mentioned earlier. I finished that on audio in November. Oh my God. Just all the feels. That's all I'll say. And Heather Carter has also gotten into the series, so it's been awesome to like chat with her about it and gush about the books with her about, it's good to have that camaraderie when you have no one else to talk to about the things you're obsessing about. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I did read the short story, the short story that follows the series, which is, Opal, something like that. I read that, and that was good too. And I started Call Down the Hawk, which is a new series based on a couple characters that are in the Raven Cycle. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought I'd like whiz through it, but I haven't. I have been struggling with it because, not because it's bad writing or anything like that, or that I'm not engaged, but I'm so attached to the characters as a group in the Raven Cycle, that to have new characters introduced in Call Down the Hawk, which is the first book of this series. I don't know if I mentioned that. Anyway, that's been like hard for me. I don't know. I know I'm being weird, but that's been hard for me. So I was so excited to get into that book, and now I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I miss the original gang. I miss the gang Z. So, I'm still trying though. I'm still trying to read, trying to get through it. I've also, on audio, finished another book by Maggie Stiefvater. I've basically been binging on Maggie Stiefvater, but I finished The Scorpio Races. Excellent. And I didn't know, I knew that Maggie Stiefvater was in the process of creating another deck. I did not realize that this deck was inspired by her novel, The Scorpio Races. So that's pretty cool. It was a good book. There were some difficult parts. I will say there were some sensitive parts for me due to the nature of the violence. So that was hard, I will say. I wasn't expecting that. But overall, and if I knew that those parts would be in there, I don't know that I would have picked up the book, quite frankly. I am that sensitive. And overall, it was still just a wonderful story. Memories, I had 2 major trips that I took in November, one in December, both to Florida. So in November, I went on a family trip to Disney. My mother-in-law, she was kind enough to use part of her inheritance from her father's passing to treat us all to a family trip to Disney World. That's where she wanted to go. She wanted to have a family trip. This was very important to her, where all of us were together. And so, we knew this was important to her. We wanted to do this for her, and it was very generous. And I love Disney. I love me some Disney. Do I love me a whole week of Disney? I could have done like 3 days, but it was a full week. So, it was a full week of Disney and Universal. So Matt and I branched off and did do our own stuff. And it was fun to do Harry Potter World and Adventure World. I don't know what these parks are called. And we checked out the Star Wars, the new Star Wars stuff, and Matt built his droid and his lightsaber, and so that was a good time for him. So overall, it was okay. It was, I love spending time with everyone, especially the kids, my niece and nephews, because we don't get to see them a lot and spend a lot of time with them. So that was one of my highlights. As is with any kind of family trip, especially one that's as long as a week, people get a little, cranky. It's family. What are you gonna do? It is what it is. So I was trying not to buy too much stuff in Disney, but as I said before, I am a mug collector. Hence, I bought 3 mugs. I did not need 3 mugs. I bought 3 mugs. So the first one I bought was this Alice in Wonderland mug. Isn't that cute? So different. I used to love this movie. Growing up, I watched it all the time, nonstop. So, and then I bought 2 mugs that had Jasmine Beckett Griffith images on them. I don't own any of her decks. I have been very indecisive about which deck to buy, or even if I should buy any, because I don't know that a lot of the keywords in her decks necessarily resonate with me. But now I can get my fix of Jasmine Beckett Griffith because I really do love her art. So I bought this mug. I don't know if you can see that with the glare, sorry. It is Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and it's as large as my head. It's a large mug. And then I also bought Ursula from The Little Mermaid, also as big as my head. So I love them so much. And then in December, Matt and I went with another couple to Key West for Christmas. And that was amazing. It was sunny. It was warm. We got to just walk around, see the beach, see Ernest Hemingway's home. Matt and I have been to Key West before, so we've already seen a lot of this, but our friends who came with us, they had never been. So a lot of this was new for them. But the Hemingway house with all the polydactyl cats. And then we also visited the Butterfly Conservatory, which was beautiful with all the different butterflies and birds. And it was lovely. And just ate a lot of good food, had a lot of good key lime pie. It was so wonderful. I did not want to return. I had my first Cuban coffee. Never had a Cuban coffee before, but I had a cortadito. The best thing ever. It was sad that it ended, but I'm glad to have been able to spend the holiday with good friends, and I would totally do it again. If you managed to stick with me this whole time, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And Happy New Year to everyone. I'm sending you much love, lots of fireworks, and I will see you in the new year. Take care.